Hi, I'm Nicholas Brendan, and I am plugging Walter right now. And you're listening to iWalter. I'm going to continue to plug Walter until Walter's fully plugged.
Faster than a speeding bullet, more powerful than a locomotive, able to leap tall buildings in a single bound. Look, up in the sky, it's a bird brain, it's a plane, it's iWalter. Yes, it's iWalter, strange visitor from another planet who came to Earth with powers and abilities far beyond those of mortal men. iWalter, who can change the course of mighty rivers, bend ears with his annoying voice, and who disguised as Walter Interranti, mild-mannered janitor for a great metropolitan newspaper, fights a never-ending battle for truth, nonsense, and the American way. And now, another exciting episode in the adventures of iWalter.
Yo, what's up, Walter? Walt Interranti, ladies and gentlemen. Yo, what's up, Walter? Walt Interranti, ladies and gentlemen. Yo, what's up, Walter? Walt Interranti, ladies and gentlemen. Yo, what's up, Walter? Walt Interranti, ladies and gentlemen.
Hey everyone, this is Walter from iWalter. It is Monday, April 30th at almost 2 o'clock in the morning. I had produced a radio show or a podcast, whatever you want to call it, and I had posted it. I had placed it on my Spreaker account, and then I listened back to it, and it sounded really bad. So something went wrong, and the audio was way off. It was clipping, not clipping, and I hope it doesn't do it this time, but it was leaving like pauses, like short little pauses in what I was saying. So I tried to adjust the levels. I'm going to try to do another show. It was actually pretty much an hour long also. So, yeah, I was kind of disappointed because it was like I tried to fix the imperfections, and apparently it was not working. It would just take forever. So I'm going to try to do a different show now. I will try to keep the same theme because I actually went to a comic book convention this weekend right down the road from where I live in Oaks. I don't know if I had mentioned that before, but it was called the Great Philadelphia Comic Con. Some very unique people there, some lovely girls, and I got a few photos. I'm kind of camera shy. I mean, that's not even the proper word. I'm kind of like, I hate taking pictures of people. I feel embarrassed asking them, hey, can I take a photo of you? And I usually generally try to be very fair, and I'll ask both guys and women, depending on what their costume is. Now, it was kind of funny because some guy, like younger guy, had a lot of balls, and he had asked this girl who had like pretty much, the girls kind of sometimes wear some pretty wacky outfits, crazy outfits that their butts are hanging out and their breasts are hanging out. And I don't have like the balls to say to like a girl, hey, you know what, can I take a shot this way or whatever? But this one guy told this girl, like, who was in the cosplay costume, yeah, okay, he got the front view. He wanted her to turn around, and he wanted to take pictures of her ass. And it was, it was like I got a couple, and I looked at him, and it was like I felt embarrassed for the girl, because she wasn't, she was a skinny girl, she was a young girl, but there's a lot to say about her butt. It was kind of like huge for a young girl, and it was like, this is kind of like, if I put this up, not only am I embarrassed for myself, but I'm afraid I'm going to embarrass her, because maybe she has a different view of her body. But it was like, yeah, I would not kind of wear certain clothes if, if you saw her, you would know what I mean. And I felt really embarrassed for her. It was like, okay, so I'm not putting those up. I'm keeping those. Might even destroy them. I'm not going to even say I'm going to keep them for myself. So anyway, it was an interesting weekend, and I spent, I think, for the initial ticket, I think it was like $300 or something, because the doctor who I loved back when I was a teenager, Peter Davison, was there. And it's like, yeah, I have to see Peter Davison. I'm a big fan of Peter Davison. I was obsessed with him when I was a teenager, because he was only like Excuse me for a minute. I apologize about that. He was only like 30 years old at the time, 31, 32 at tops. And I'm like 17, 16, 17, so I can kind of relate to that, to him, much better than I could even Tom Baker, who was actually only in his 40s. So that was the big plus about Peter Davison. He was much younger, and I kind of could like relate to him. Unlike Tom Baker, I could too, but not as much. He was just a fun dude. So, and believe it or not, it's kind of funny because I'm going to contradict myself on this one, but I actually really enjoyed William Hartnell. Now, that's another extreme because William Hartnell looked like he was in his 70s, and I swear he looked like he was in his 70s, and the man was only like my age now. He was only a few years older than I am now. I think he was like 55 or so when he had gotten the part, I swear. And it's like I'm 51 and I don't look like I'm 70 years old. I hope I don't. So obviously he had some other ailments too, I guess, or just a hard life. So anyway, I'm going to have to I'm redoing a whole program that I did earlier tonight and actually had it posted. But I wanted to call this episode because it reminded me of some of the stuff I was talking about. I was going to call it the Screaming Skull. Because I was talking to these guys, I'm going to mention her name right now, and I actually have them up. It was at the convention this weekend. I apologize about the mic noise. Was Mr. Lobo. I just talked to them today. I was talking for a very long time. Mr. Lobo and Sleazy P. Martini. Is it doing it again? Sleazy P. Martini from the producer, quote unquote, of GWAR. You know, it's like a kind of a gimmicky band that's supposed to be funny, so everything is a little bit off the wall. So Sleazy is like this character in like who's supposed to be the producer for the band GWAR, who kind of looks like a cross between Elvis Presley and Max Headroom. So it's kind of funny. And I saw this guy and I was like, wow, is he supposed to be like some type of impersonator of Elvis? Because he looks a little bit like Max Headroom. If you ever watched that when you were a kid, seen that's the whole thing about Max Headroom. You know, he looked like a computerized man. They even made a joke in Back to the Future 2 about something on the line that looked like a Max Headroom type of theme. So I didn't know that this Sleazy P. Martini was actually supposed to be the gimmicky producer for the alien band known as GWAR. And the only reason I knew about GWAR was because when I was living in my apartment down in Horsham, there was a guy who was really into GWAR. I think there was a guy actually, I'm trying to think, a friend of mine actually, he liked GWAR a lot. So that was another one. I'm just hoping this is going to turn out and not get all screwed up. I'm sorry, I'm just being really cranky at this point because redoing a whole show is not fun. I've done it before, but it's been more than once. And as much as I love Audacity, by the way, that's what I'm using, it's always had issues as well. You know, it's very temperamental. I'm sorry. It's free, but that's not the point. I'll pay for what I need if I have to. I'll go into all that stuff because I did actually buy a plug. I actually paid for a plug over the weekend from. I don't think I'm going to use it at this point. It's actually up on my Spreaker page. I got the guy from Buffy, and I can't remember his name. He played Xander, and I'm drawing a blank on his name. And yeah, he was really cool to do. Well, he charged me like $20, which isn't that bad. I was like, hey, $20, I get a celebrity plug. So, and it was like, dude, it's like not that good. So, and it's actually, I think it might have been because it was so loud I couldn't correct his voice on any of my programs. Like it was clipping, I guess you call it. So it was so loud. Nicholas Brendan, it was so loud the way he like talked too close to the mic and everything. It sounded so bad that I think when I put that in the show I had recorded earlier tonight, and then I try to work off of that, and then everything just sounded really bad. Like it just, I hope that's what it was, but it threw my recording way off. So I could not use it. I had to, like, I can't fix this. It's a shame. It was a really good show. Anyway, I was going to call it, I think I said this already, Screamin' Skull, because it was a movie when I was a kid that really scared the crap out of me. And why I want to bring that up, though, is because when I was talking to Mr. Lobo and Sleazy P. Martini, who was in costume, both of these guys are in their getup. We were talking about BSing about old movies and stuff. I just dropped one of these cards, so I wanted to read off of. God, I'm all over the place, and I don't want to do this a third time tonight, trust me, because I got very important things coming up tomorrow. Another guy that was really cool was his name. Well, it's Monster Madhouse, and it's a gentleman who is kind of looks a little bit like your Rob Zombie, and he shows old horror monster movies. So all three of these guys were like at the same table, sharing the table and everything like that. And I was like, dude, this is awesome because this is stuff I grew up on. So the convention was interesting. So again, it was Sleazy Martini, and then it was Mr. Lobo that I had spoken to today. They gave me a bunch of trinkets and stuff. Really cute girl. I had taken pictures 2 of the 3 days I was there. She had different cosplay costumes on. Her name was Danielle something. I actually emailed her. I emailed Mr. Lobo and just let him know, hey, listen, you guys, I had taken pictures of you guys. Here was some of my info. The girl, I gave her pictures that I had taken of her because she actually does the Renaissance Fair as well and some other things. And it was like, yeah, that's really cool. And she seemed very nice, so I'll see what happens because she seemed like she liked me taking her pictures. But most of them are pretty bad that I take, trust me. Pictures I take of people and celebrities, because I've taken a lot of pictures of different celebrities over the years at concerts and conventions and things. Anyway, I also got to see a free movie screening of a movie called Bad Samaritan, and that was yesterday, or not yesterday. Now it was Saturday, I should say. It was done by a independent production company that's trying to make a name for themselves. It's called Legion. So, very cool film. It was very dark. It had David Tennant as the main character. The film, in a nutshell, kind of reminded me a little bit of Hannibal Lecter, which I heard this one girl that was overlooking David Tennant. Oh, I'm sorry, not David Tennant. I apologize. She was overlooking Peter Davison. Now, Peter Davison is the father-in-law to David Tennant, because David Tennant is married to Peter Davison's daughter. I think I got that right. I'm not sure because I'm just so tired at this point. So anyway, it was funny though, because the man who I grew up with and idolized as a kid, as a teenager, who was Peter Davison, was sitting in the very same movie theater that I was, seeing this film called Bad Samaritan as a movie screener, which it cost nobody. It cost everyone no money at all to go see it. It was a free movie screening because this movie Bad Samaritan's coming out next week. But anyway, it was just kind of that kind of freaked me out too. It was like, dude, when I was a kid, I was obsessed with you. Not David Tennant, but Peter Davison, I mean. So I'm probably not making any sense, but people who know me know that I never make any sense, so I apologize. And I'm trying to remember what I said, so this is what's making it very difficult. You do a whole hour show, you wrap it up, and it turns into garbage, so it's not fun. It's not cool at all. I'm distracted by the background. I got the TV on just as white noise, so practically, even though the sound's off. But it's a very good distraction. Look, I'm stuttering now. It's a very good distraction because I'm not even paying attention to what I'm supposed to be doing. I have no stories to read, so that's really good tonight. Usually I have some stories lined up. The only stories I have is information about Mr. Lobo and also about Mr. Sleazy Martini. So I'm going to be jumping around tonight because I'm just really tired. I keep on dropping my little cue cards, so I'm going to pick them up. This one I already read anyway. I was about the Renaissance Fair with this girl from that was at the convention today, who was in cosplay, in a cosplay costume. She changed them every day. Had try to ask me, hey, maybe you want to check this stuff out. I'll be there. I was like, that's cool. I probably won't be there, though. I mean. Yeah, I mean, my main reason for this comic book convention this weekend was because I wanted to see Peter Davison. Right now, I'm having a little bit of issues in my personal life, I guess, so to speak. Actually, yes. I have a job that's on the rocks, and I don't know where I stand. I could possibly be losing the job I've had for the last decade and a half. I could be losing it now, and that would really suck because I'm 51, and for me to look for another job is not going to be that easy. One is my age, and two, there's a lot of things that I just am not very good at. So even what I went to school for, I'm not very good at. So losing this job would be a really definite down note for me. It would really it would ruin my life. For one thing, it definitely would. As much as I hate the job, I hate to admit to that. Anyway, I'm going to jump around and try to remember stuff when I get into Mr. Lobo. I actually started watching Mr. Lobo's DVD I bought. Yeah, it was a DVD. Very cool. Because it's getting late and I didn't get a chance to check everything out I bought at this convention this weekend. I spent way too much money. And I was mentioning before, I think it's just because I'm really depressed. I've been having a hard time at my job for years. And it's been issues of finding ways to get rid of me, in my opinion. This is me just speaking openly and personally, how I feel. But I kind of have this feeling that they just don't want me there at my present job. And I've been there for 15, 16 years now. I started in 2002. And they're not giving up. Like this time, they really want to get rid of me. I've heard they want to make an example out of me. So yeah, that's I'm already in a paranoid state on how I think or how I view other people, what their perception of me is. So it doesn't make it any better when it's kind of proven right in a weird, strange way. So, and by the way, I'm going to try to do this again, and hopefully this works, and hopefully I don't get any of these clipping stuff like I did before. Before I recorded a whole hour, literally an hour of a show, and what happened was there was it would drop out every so seconds, and so many seconds of my recording. So I'm definitely keeping an eye on it. See, this is what's important when I was telling this one guy that I was talking to, Mr. Lobo, when you record a podcast, you got to keep your eyes on your recording, obviously, because you can pick up on the stuff, which I'm keeping an eye on right now. You don't want it to over-oscillate. Two, you need a headset because you can hear yourself, and sometimes you can even pick it up there, like, oh my God, it's clipping, or it's not sounding right, it sounds distorted. Sometimes you can generally pick that up as you're recording. I was actually going to do a sarcastic thing, and I said this earlier. I'm going to say it again. Everything I'm going to say is going to be said again. And it was that book by, I can't remember the author's name, but it's an old book on self-help, on how to influence people and win friends or whatever. So I'm looking that up, and I had a comment about that. And I was going to call the show that. I probably did that before. So all you have to do is make a half-ass attempt to type it in, and generally it will come up. Yeah, somebody told me to read that book. I've said this a million times, and I did, and I followed the steps of how you kind of defuse people that are angry with you, and I did it, and I actually pissed off people even more. So I was like, yeah, this book's a real waste of money and a real waste of time that I actually read it from the front page to the very back and everything in between. I didn't skip anything. I actually did everything it told me to do. Okay, Dale Carnegie's book of how to win friends and influence people. I was going to use that slogan today and say, well, if you expect that from this show, you're not going to find it here. In fact, you're not going to find it at all because I'm the complete opposite. I really don't care what people think. And I mentioned, I'm going to keep on saying this. Like I mentioned this before. I mentioned that. I just can't help it. I mean, that's how angry I am, too, right now, because I have to do this whole thing over again. Like in my personal life, even at the convention, I know that I just freak people out because I'm a very nervous person. I'm very like unsure of myself. I get very nervous. I actually start shaking in front of people, and I feel very uncomfortable even by myself. If I see other people around, I get really panicky. So I think Howard Stern was kind of like that. So it's funny though, if I'm on this behind this mic, I'm a whole different person. I think like I'm more open. I'm pure id, and I don't give two craps of what I say or how I present myself. And again, it's pure id. The id, ego, and super ego. You learned that in Psych 101. Well, that's me. You take this mic away from me, you take this headset, you screw up my show. I'm a different person. I'm a total mess. Like I'm ready for a straitjacket. I think other people see that too. Like they want to put me in a straitjacket. Trust me, because I'm not even kidding about that. Years ago, I did some web page on this thing called Homestead. That a advisor at Cabrini College told me about. She says, "Oh yeah, you like computers a lot. You should check in this Homestead. You can make your own home home page on the internet because that's when it was new. Basically cut and paste. You have a web page. It's like really cool, great. But I hate Cabrini, but I love the professors. I just hate the people there that are students because they're real assholes." Great. So I made a web page about it. And what did they do? The board at Cabrini College decided to get a lawyer to try to fine me for $100,000 because I was stupid enough to put a icon on the emblem for the school, which was copyrighted. I didn't know what copyright meant at that point. So if you actually are charged with copyright infringement, that's a $100,000 fine. But it got better yet. They also wanted to find me psychologically disturbed. And it's funny because that's what I'm going through now at my job. Like everywhere I go, people have to find me nuts. It's like you don't have to dig that far to find that because trust me, I got plenty of paperwork. But I hate to tell you, for the people out there who try to take down people like me, and part of my reason why people like to take me down, and it's obvious, because I have a very big mouth, and it's not in front of people, but when I'm in situations where I can be in control of my environment, which is on the internet or on this podcast, then it's like a no holds bar. The boxing, what do you call it? The gloves come off, whatever you call it. And I roll up my sleeves, and I basically don't care, and I say whatever comes out of my mouth, which is bad. But it also makes me feel a lot better after I do it. So, but the problem is then people listen in. I remember reason I got in trouble at my college was because somebody overheard or saw my webpage, and they said, yeah, this guy, he needs to we need to get rid of him because he's a nuisance. He's a troublemaker, and we're going to try to get rid of him, and we're going to make up stories about how he's a total nutcase. Well, that's probably pretty true. I am a nutcase, but I mean, they had to go out of their way to actually exaggerate it. You might as well consider me like Donald Trump because, like the man, I don't care what I say. I'll say whatever's on my mind, and I won't back down from a fight like that kind of fight. I don't mean a physical fight, but somebody who's just being a total douchebag. I'm going to fight them back. I'm not going to tolerate it, and I'm not going to take stupidity. So I keep on dropping these business cards I wanted to read off of. Anyway, it was kind of funny because I was trying to get. I'm very I'm trying to think of the correct word. I'm very hyper, I guess. That might be part because I do have a learning disability. Been diagnosed with it years ago, diagnosed again, and then once again I was diagnosed just a few months ago or a year ago because I had to get reevaluated for my job because they were giving me such a hard time. They're saying, well, if you can't do all this stuff, you got to prove that you can't do all this stuff. You got to say, you got to take this particular test that we recommend you take. Like they wrote down the test and gave it to some psychiatrist and told the psychiatrist, yeah, you got to find somebody, make sure Walter takes this test. And it's a psych eval test, and it's a test to determine what kind of learning disability I have, what kind of psychological problems I have. And I said, okay, I'll take the test, but you're going to pay for it? To my job, by the way, because I'm jumping around again. And they said, no, you're going to pay for it. It's like, why? You're the one who's forcing this test on me. Now you're saying that I have to pay for it. And it was like, we never told you how to take this test. So contradiction is another thing at my job. It's really ridiculous. So, yeah, they contradict themselves. They try to make me a scapegoat, and they just try to do everything in their power just to get rid of me. Like, I am the Donald Trump of everywhere I plant my butt at. You know, if it's at school, at a job, probably even in the mall, I find a way to get people pissed off at me if I just look at them. So, I don't know. That makes no sense, I know. So, anyway, the only thing is, right now I'm off from work. I'm getting paid, and I don't know why. I prefer to be at work and get paid. I'm not going to complain, but my concern is, you know, this may not last forever, which I doubt it will. If it did, I wouldn't complain. I would not complain at all. I would definitely shut my mouth up. Obviously, I'm not now, but I would then. Hey, if you're going to pay me just to, you know, keep quiet, I would probably, because I can do more of this stuff, and I wouldn't be complaining about work. I'd have plenty of other stuff to occupy my time. I really would. I don't know what it is yet, but I would. So the only thing that was nice, I actually got all my money's worth out of at least the ticket I bought. The only problem was because I won all 3 days, and I won for like pretty much the whole day, except today. I won for at least 4 hours today. Now, the problem was, though, I spend so much freaking money. Again, I'm just like, I don't know what else to do with myself. I'm bored, I guess. Matt, yeah, you're going to say, see, I told you so, Walter. I told you you're bored. I'm just kidding, man. I'm just giving you a hard time. So the thing was, I spend almost, I think, I'm afraid to say this. I spent $160 on Friday. And that was for two people. It was David. I keep on saying David Tennant. Well, I don't say it, but I just said it again. I said it earlier on the show. Well, I'm already at 25 minutes. That's incredible. I don't know how I did that. Because I try to keep my shows in an hour. I had this discussion with these guys today, and I got a Doctor. God, I have it up somewhere. Doctor Who. Oh God, I got to turn off my. Hold on one second, folks. I'm a complete mess. I know I am. Dr. Lobo, what we're talking about, because he does podcasts, he does like a Dr. Shock type theme thing. And we're talking for a long time. So, and also with Mr. I would just call him Mr. Sleazy from the Gar Band, the producer. I was talking to him for a long time. We were bullshitting about this stuff. But Friday I spent, it was believe it or not, it was $80 for a selfie with Kevin Sorbo. And I bought his movie. I think it was $80. Maybe it was less. Maybe it was $60, but it was something ridiculous. And he autographed. It was like I bought his movie. He did some movie with that Sean Hannity produced. I don't have it in front of me. I apologize. And I do want to watch it because I was telling Kevin Sorbo, like, dude, I'm like I heard you're really ultra conservative, and he said, I'm not. I don't know if you would call me an ultra conservative, but I am conservative. And I asked him about my job situation. What do you think I should do, Mr. Sorbo? And he says, I don't really know what I can tell you, but I'm sorry to hear about that, man. That's basically what he said. I'm sorry to hear about that. I can't. He really didn't. I got him off guard. He's an actor, very intelligent man, and he's very much into politics. But when I spilled my problems on him, he didn't expect that, so I got him off guard. I didn't mean to. So, but he was nice to talk to, and I really got him stirred up because I said, yay, I voted for Trump, and I've been a conservative pretty much all my life, and yeah, he just went off like I really stirred him up because he's very conservative. He definitely is. I never known that because right now I'm like watched a little bit of this show he used to be on called Andromeda. I think that's the way you say it, Andromeda. I'm gonna keep on saying it wrong. I'm sorry. And he's really good. He's really good. It's a really interesting show because it's a Star Trek. It's like it's another division of Star Trek. I remember that back in the day. People used to talk about this show, and it's like I don't see what everybody thinks it's so great about. But I watched a couple episodes, like, yeah, this is actually pretty cool. I was actually ready to buy it off him. I was like, dude, I gotta watch. I really, really gotta watch my money, even though I didn't the whole weekend. I just end up buying everything I could, lay my hands on. So, but I got things like I try to be a little selective on what I bought, and a little bit from everybody. Unfortunately, though. And tonight, actually, it was funny. It was like I asked Kevin Sorbo when I was at his table on Friday. I said, dude, can you give me a plug? I do a podcast once in a while, and I'd be very privileged. I mean, it would be my mom. What it would be? I would be honored if you would give me a plug, because I really like somebody who speaks his mind, who's very conservative. I mentioned to him I listened to Rush Limbaugh, Bill O'Reilly, and Sean Hannity, and he said, well, Hannity actually produced one of my films. I'm good friends with Hannity. This was Kevin Sorbo, and I was like, dude, this is really awesome. This is awesome. So, but when it came down to ask him for the plug, he handed me over a bunch of paperwork, like business cards and stuff. And then I'm looking at it right now. He sent me this thing that says, connect directly with Kevin Sorbo with a personal video message. So he wouldn't give it to me there. So I looked it up, and it says personalized shout-outs, birthdays, and it's celebvm.com / Kevin Sorbo. And I was like, well, this is actually appropriate, getting Kevin Sorbo to do a plug for my show, because he is into politics, and he is a celebrity, which I always like getting celebrity. I got a couple celebrity plugs for my show. But also, he's on the same line I am. He's conservative, so this is beautiful. So it was like he wouldn't do it there. He wanted me to pay for him through his business service. So I looked it up. Now it's $50 though, and it's like, do I really want to do it? That's $50, but you know what? For the intro to my show, I think I spend about $250 for that intro for my show, and that was done professionally. So $50, believe it or not, for somebody like him who is pretty up there, I think, as a celebrity, it's actually not too bad. The only problem is, do you have that $50? Well, that's a different story. Because lately, like even this weekend with the convention, I made sure to use my debit card for everything. Now, my concern is, did I overdraft on my checking account? Because right now, since I'm not sure about my job, I don't want to spend any money and ring up a bunch of credit card bills. So what I end up doing is like, okay, I don't want to kill my credit card. So simply what I'm going to do is going to pay everything in cash, practically. Basically what I did. I won't know until tomorrow how much cash I wasted. But I'd rather have that burden than have a burden of a credit card for a couple $100 being owed on it. So that's why I had taken that avenue. So, but yeah, Kevin Sorbo. I did want to talk just a little briefly in a few minutes about the film I seen, The Bad Samaritan. It was actually very, very disturbing movie, by the way. Boy, I talked about so much I'm not going to be able to remember again. And it's already half an hour, so. You know what? Actually, I'm going to have to take his advice. I really will have to take his advice. Oh, wow. Yeah, Mr. Sorbo gave me his personal business card. That's pretty nice of him. Isn't it just amazing? Kevin Sorbo, you have just met. That's pretty funny. He gave me his business card. It's kind of like, I don't know. That was on Friday. But what was I going to say? Mr. Lobo even said, I said to him sometimes, I've done interviews with people, and they've lasted almost. One guy I did 2 interviews with the same gentleman, a friend who does independent films, horror films, and one interview I did with him lasted 2 hours, and the next one lasted like 3 hours, and we were joking the next one's going to be 10 hours. But I'm going to have to take Mr. Lobo's advice, where he says, you know what, you're probably better off making hour increments, and if you have more to talk about, to say, I'll talk about that next time, because that's a little bit more, keeps people involved. When I do these shows, which I've done on my own before, because I love to talk, I've done shows that are an hour and a half, 2 hours long, and I could talk even longer, but then nobody wants to listen to them. That's why I don't have many viewers, Listeners. I'm sorry, listeners. Could be viewers, too, because I go up on YouTube when I put these up, too, as well. So anyway, let me go through these names again. Monster Madhouse. This gentleman does monster horror movies. He was at the convention today, and you can find him, I believe, on it's that box. There's different Roku. So is Mr. Lobo. He's on Roku as well. He's got, I think, an app or something for his thing. And then there was also, which was really cool to meet, was I think he's somewhere on there too, Mr. Sleazy Martini, which is just funny, the name. I love that name. Anyway, the thing that was really interesting got me started talking today about with Mr. Lobo. I want to get into that real quick. Let's get it out of the way. I mean, I love talking to him. Don't get me wrong. He was really, really cool. Mr. Lobo, it says he's an American artist. Eric Lobo is his actual name. Better known by his stage name of Mr. Lobo, is an American artist, once again, and comedic actor best known for his horror, as being a horror host of the nationally syndicated American television series, Cinema Insomnia. Did I say that right? He's originally from San Antonio, California. He's 47 years old. I'm 51, so we're not too far apart. But he said his influence, like he moved out, I guess, to the East Coast, so he's living in Pennsylvania, I believe now, him and his wife. And his wife's like an incredible artist. He was showing me all these artwork, movie posters that she kind of recreated on her own, like she's taken the original artwork and changed it and made it look like more, actually very interesting, very cool. Mr. Lobo's wife. And, yeah, it was really cool to see it. I was like, dude, I'm going to be spending more money than on this stuff. I have nowhere to put it, but I just love it. But we were talking about, this is what got us started. We were talking about, like Dr. Shock and stuff. He said, yeah, the reason I got started a few years ago, Mr. Lobo, Eric Lobo, in doing, like a celebrity host for horror movies, like B horror movies, he said I was a fan of, like, things like Dr. Shock. And it's like, and Creature Feature. And I was like, yeah, well, in Philly we had, he meant Dr. Shock from Philadelphia. That's where he's from. Apparently everybody knew him. I didn't know that. I thought that was just a local thing, but I guess it must have been broadcasted elsewhere as well. So he was influenced by Dr. Shock, and also he did know about Creature Double Feature, which is a local Philadelphia thing that they used to show all these B horror movies. So, yeah, I mean, the whole thing was really awesome. So, and it was like, dude, I grew up with this stuff. This is what I used to do on my Saturday afternoons on the weekends when I was a little kid, like 11, 12 years old. My mom would be watching Dr. Shock. I would watch it under blankets because I was scared to death. And that's why I wanted to bring up, like, the topic of why I was going to call this one called this episode of The Screaming Skull, because that was the movie when I was a kid. I couldn't remember the name of it when I was talking to Mr. Lobo, but there was this movie called The Screaming Skull, and it scared the crap out of me. It was a black and white film. It is like the worst movie ever made, and I'm trying to keep an eye on the time too. And yeah, I was like, I had blankets over my head watching this film because I was scared, because what it was, these people were dying, I guess, or I think it was only like a couple. I can't remember. People were dying in this particular house that had a greenhouse. And the greenhouse, though, had this dead corpse or skeleton that was still moving and walking around, and it was killing people. And it was this woman, and she was just like a corpse. She was a skeleton. It wasn't even a corpse. It had no flesh on there at all. It was a skeleton. But I'm a little kid, and it scared the crap out of me. It was called The Screaming Skull again. So I think, yeah, I think I've even ordered that like on my iTunes or something, because it was just like, okay, I know the movie's really bad. It's just like a classic horror film that I remember as a child. I mean, there was other films that really scared the crap out of me. I couldn't. Screaming Skull was one of those. I had a hard time sleeping after seeing it on TV. The other one was a movie called, it was called The Children. I might have mentioned that one a million times, and I did buy that one. It became a Troma film. Like, Troma bought the rights for the film, and they just basically put it under their umbrella of movies. But The Children was very scary because it was these kids, because of being exposed to a nuclear fallout, so to speak, got turned into these hideous demonic zombies. And the movie I wanted to see as a kid was so bad. I remember seeing it in the theaters, and I had my eyes covered the whole entire time because I was a little kid. I should have never even been allowed to see it, but I was a nuisance enough to my parents. They did take me to see it, and I couldn't sleep for weeks because and in fact, even to this day, I cannot watch that film all the way through because it still just gives me nightmares just watching it. I'm 51, so yeah, that's how much that movie bothered me. So anyway, I might not gloss over everything I said before because I got into like different stuff, and I want to kind of focus on this. I think I said enough. Like, it's kind of funny because I didn't know much about Mr. Sleazy Martini, discovery of Guar, while fleeing the U.S. on possible drug charges. Sleazy ends up crashing his helicopter into Americana, where Guar has been imprisoned by the master, frozen inside a cavern. Okay, it goes on. I'm just looking at Wikipedia because I had no clue about this guy until today, and this weekend of seeing him for the first time. So I don't know him. It was fun. It was fun though. I actually had fun talking to him. He was really entertaining, and it was like, wait, you're part of the Guar thing? I had to ask him finally. I was like, I worked up the nerve, and he was like, yeah. I'm that whole. He's the whole Guar umbrella, that whole universe of Guar. Guar was actually playing not too long ago down in Philly, or will be, and I think they did play, and I was going to go see them, and I never did. I already talked about the Kevin Sorbo thing. I did talk about Mr. Lobo, and Kevin Sorbo. He's got a very fancy car, by the way. The cute girl I was talking about. Monster Madhouse I talked about. And, okay, I'm going to talk a little bit about Bad Samaritan. It's actually, it's not going too bad, so I'm just not going to cover everything like I did before. It's not going to be it's going to be a different episode with the same name, basically. Yeah, this one woman kept on telling me, hey, you should go see, or what are you doing? Like Friday night, it was like, I hope you're not asking me out. This woman she's always at the conventions, and she's the head of this Doctor Who merchandise type thing called Weebly Wobbly, whatever. And yeah, I was like, it's a Doctor Who stand. I'm gonna go there. And then right next door was this big standee of David Tennant. And she said, what are you doing on Friday? She said, what are you doing on Saturday night or tonight or whatever? Maybe it was Saturday she had to ask me this. I think it was Saturday. What are you doing tonight? It was like, well, I'm going to be at this convention all day, and that's about it. So, hoping she wouldn't say, try to make I hate to say this. I'm the one who complains about this all the time, hoping she was making a pass at me. Married woman with a bunch of kids or whatever. And she said, well, because they're doing a free movie screen of The Bad Samaritan. I was like, really? Wow, I didn't know about this, and that sounds cool. It's free. I don't care. And yeah, she said, yeah. And they said they had this set up with the trailer running at a table next to the Doctor Who lady. And I looked at it, I was like, yeah, it looks okay. I don't know if I really want to waste my time. And I was struggling trying to get myself to see a free movie at 8 o'clock on a Saturday night, but I did. And I got there, and it was actually, at first I thought, well, this is going to be like overwhelmingly crowded because, it's free. Everybody who loves David Tennant's going to be there, obviously. Everybody who likes horror movies, everybody who likes free stuff is going to be there. And it was crowded, but it wasn't like extremely crowded. There was still room to like breathe and walk around. People were very cooperative. They were quiet during the film. I watch it, and it was like, wow, this is actually a very interesting movie. I was really shocked because it's done by an independent movie production company that is slowly trying to, make a name for themselves. They're actually taking donations. Like if you want to give them up to $100, you can become a person who's contributing to helping them make other film work by independent movie producers. Like they get name people, name actors. I was gonna say name brands, but they get like real people that are actors you would recognize their names from somewhere to like be in these films, because there was a couple other ones that this Legion has worked on some other productions. So I think they said $12 million into just promotions alone, and this girl said that's not that much money. I was like, well, that actually is a lot of money, but for whatever. That's the big thing about production. You want to have people see it, because that's the way you get paid. You get your money back, is how well a film does. So anyway, I was like, they're trying to convince me, which I hate to say it, I won't, but they're trying to say, well, make sure you come back next week and pay for it, and get other people to go. And I was like, I hate to say it, I'm very going to be really tight with my money right now. I wasn't this whole weekend, but I will now, I hope. Otherwise, I'm going to be dead meat. But I will tell people it was a really good movie, though. It was very creepy. Because David Tennant, I remember from seeing him watching him in Netflix, Jessica Jones, and that was a little freaky because he just plays a really demented, off-the-wall character. But it's nothing compared to what he was like. I don't know if I mentioned this before, because I'm getting confused myself, because since I did a show earlier this afternoon or later or whatever. But his character was it was crazy. David Tennant's character, and this girl was giving me some pointers of how David Tennant is. She was saying during the screening, David Tennant's father-in-law, Peter Davison, was there, and he said Peter Davison was actually snickering and laughing at it because he knows David Tennant. He knows the real man. And he says he appreciated dude, you're doing a really good job. Peter Davison thought the film was really well done. He thought that David Tennant was doing an excellent job on his acting, which he did. But to me, I swear to God, because I'm used to seeing David Tennant as Doctor Who, or just kind of goofy and flamboyant, because I think he played on the TV show, I forgot about that, years ago, called Casanova. And he was a really flamboyant, kind of slept with every woman. It was like a time period piece, comedy, farce type of show he was on. So, most of us know David Tennant. Even when he was in Harry Potter, the one movie, he was a villain, but he was a goofy villain. I'm not used to seeing the man totally crazed. So, and she said that when he was on set, this one woman I was talking to, this one at the convention today, she said when he was on set, she heard at least that he was very nice, very pleasant to talk to, but once they turned on and they said, okay, ready to roll the cameras, and he had to get into character, he's one of those character actors that he just puts on a different face. She said you could see in his face just changed into that character once the film started rolling. And it was that's really scary to me. That really frightened me. I don't want to say too much, but it did definitely remind me of Hannibal Lecter. I told her this woman I was talking today. I said, he kind of reminded me of the character of Hannibal Lecter. She said, that's funny because he was actually offered, I think there was supposed to be some Netflix series where he was offered a part, and maybe it's the new one, that new show that was called Hannibal Lecter that was on for a while. I don't know if it still is. There was some show about Hannibal Lecter. It's a character. And they offered it originally to Peter Davison, and he had to turn it down. He turned it down for some reason because he was working on something else. And I thought she said it was even this movie. I don't know. The movie called Bad Samaritan. So, yeah, and it was really, because he did look like the character of Hannibal Lecter. Some of the quirks that the character had in the movie also remind me of Dexter. If you ever remember watching Dexter, I did for a while there. I didn't watch the whole thing. Because he had, and there was the other thing that was really creepy. He was a character that was very obsessive compulsive on cleanliness and perfection. It's like, well, that's me, and I have a lot of quirks. I'm a nutcase myself, and I told her this, and she was laughing. It's like, well, don't worry, I'm not going to kill you. And there was another woman with this woman I was talking to, and she said, they were promoting the Bad Samaritan movie, and they said, well, do you have everything like in like a precise spot, everything like lined up perfectly, everything's got to be perfectly cleaned? It's like, to a point, maybe, but not to the point like in the movie, not like that character. And when David Tennant flipped out, his character, he really flipped out. It was crazy. Like he would like, he really scared me. But the part that made me feel kind of like dirty was the fact that I have a lot of quirks. I know I do. I'm like watching this film, and it's like, this kind of is scary because in a strange way, this character is a psychopath, but he's got the same quirks I do otherwise. So that's the part that kind of freaked me out and made me feel very uncomfortable. At the same time, like the person who was like, there was a woman who was chained up. You see that in the previews. You felt really bad. And it's like, this guy is going to rob this house, and this one character is going to rob this David Tennant's house, the character of David Tennant, and he finds this woman all gagged up and chained, and then he finds out that this guy is not only torturing women, but he's like he's butchering them apart and stuff. Like, that's what you gather, and it's like, oh my God, this movie is really freaking me out. I told them, they thought it was kind of like almost funny when I was telling these people promoting the movie. I said, this movie actually made me freak out. And I said, it also reminded me, I'd never seen the film, but I know there's one famous scene of this movie called American History X. And it was this part in the movie, I told them, I said, there was a part where this white power Nazi, it's called a curb, curbs this gang member guy. And he puts this gang member's mouth onto a curb, and then he steps on the back of the guy's head, and he kills him by stepping on the back of his head and basically crushing his skull. And it was like, that was disturbing. Like, I will not watch that scene because it's just so disturbing. I will not watch that movie because it's just so disturbing. American History X I'm talking about. But I said, this movie, to me, as bad as that was, this movie was even worse. This one with David Tennant. So that just freaked me out more. So it was like, I really love David Tennant actually as Doctor Who, but this is just like, this movie really just, no puns intended, left a bad taste in my mouth. It really scared the crap out of me. So I'm coming up on an hour. I'm trying to keep it, in good faith, like in that hour mark, because I think it's a smart idea. My other show was actually this long, and this is without credits and stuff. So that's a bad thing. So I'm going to kind of wrap this up a little bit now, and this is a good idea because then I'll have plenty to talk about if I want to do another podcast even the next day or so, because I'll have plenty of time probably, I hope. I hope and I don't hope. I hope that I'll still get paid if I have plenty of open time. But anyway, I did cover a couple other things about like these horror movies and stuff and some creepy movies, but maybe I should save that for another time because it is actually getting like, I have like 10 minutes of some stuff I got to put in the beginning to end the show anyway, so that'll give me my hour mark. But all I can say was I did have a really good time this weekend. I got to talk to some people. I enjoyed the weekend. And that was another thing, folks. I was in such a huff over the weekend. Saturday was a mess at this convention. I totally forgot about mentioning this before. My lost episode now. But I was trying to park, and the people were like crazy this weekend at this convention. So I'm like pulling into this area to park my car, this spot. It's next to a place called BJ's, which is next to this convention center. And I'm trying to park my car, and this woman backs up her car and is like ready to like basically smash into the front end of my car. It's like, dude, I just got this car fixed. I don't want to get, I had a deer accident a couple months ago. Car got completely fixed. It looked brand new. Please don't hit my car. Just don't hit my car. I'm very anal. I am anal about that. So she keeps on backing up, and I run into a concrete barrier, and I smash in the back bumper of my car. So I called the insurance company. I was like, I hate to tell you guys, but yeah, I got in an accident, and I had to like kind of tell a little white lie. It was like, yeah, I did get in an accident, and it was because of this woman backing into my, into the front of my car. She was going in reverse, but the damage actually was me not see. I was like a blind spot with this pillar. So I told the insurance company, I said, listen, yeah, this woman like hit me or whatever, and it was like, well, do you exchange information? No, I didn't, because it was at a convention, and the guy said, okay, I understand. If it was at a convention, it was busy, and we're not thinking. I didn't get her information, but what information did I get off of her? So that's everything. So I feel guilty about that, but it's like, dude, if I tell them it was my fault and they cover it, that's great, but then there's the other problem that then my insurance goes up. And I've already had a deer hit my car. Literally, I slammed on my brakes and a deer was like ran right in front of the car and it killed itself. And I've had, deer problems and other issues, and I'm just at the point is like, dude, I don't want another accident, and I'm worried about my job too. So that's another thing. So I'm worried about losing my job. And some reason, even my father said this area that I live has gotten so congested anymore with traffic and everything else. It's out of hand. So, I don't know what to say. I mean, it's like I told my one friend in the voicemail, I'm like at my breaking point practically. I'm surprised I'm not, because I've been under a lot less stress in the past, and I just like lose my cool, and I have a panic attack, or I like lose total control of like my sanity. And this time it's like it's way overwhelming, the amount of stress I'm under, and for some reason I'm keeping my cool. I don't know how long it's going to last, hopefully indefinitely, but I can't say, because it's just like, okay, how much can any normal human being can take before they start like they're at their like literally at their breaking point, because I'm beyond that at this point. So I don't know. Anyway, folks, yeah, I did want to talk. I was talking about when I did a show earlier that nobody's going to hear because I deleted it now, about different movies and different directors and stuff that came to mind. Adam Green was one, and then there was the other one who did Cabin Fever, which I keep on forgetting his name. It's like literally on the tip of my tongue. So I'm trying to look it up again. But I won't go into that discussion today, or tonight, I should say. Eli Roth. Because I was talking about like different horror films, like how people are just, as bad as some of these films are really grotesque and over the top, it seems like people still continue to like get drawn to them. And I was mentioning, I'll go into further detail. Cabin Fever was one, because Eli Roth, made that film of Green Inferno, which is a very gory film, but it's as gory as it was, it does draw people to films such as Green Inferno, Cabin Fever, and Hostel, and some other films. I could do a whole show on gory films and how they impact people, and how they impacted me over the years when I would go see them, or rent them back in the day. That was the big thing. I'll kind of cut this really short, but when I was younger, in my 20s, and I was in college, me and my friend Matt, we would go rent movies. He would rent them, and he introduced me to like a lot of bizarre films, and I was mentioning that, like ones that really kind of grossed me out. Sometimes one was called Necrophiliac. It was a movie renting. Well, like movies I would have never known existed. And I was talking about one time it was supposed to be a quote unquote a snuff film, but I was saying earlier, hopefully they don't exist because give you a quick rundown. A snuff film would be a film that somebody actually kidnaps somebody and they torture the individual to death, and like in a brutal way too, like really brutally hurting that other person, and I don't think that's cool. So I just said earlier, I hope something like that does not exist. I really don't. And I was saying one time when we were in college, still me and Matt, my friend Matt, he rented this film. It was called Bloodsucking Freaks, and the movie it bothered me so much. It grossed me out so much. We were watching it in my living room at my parents' house, and it grossed me out so severely that there was this scene where this guy had kidnapped and was torturing this woman. I mean, it looked obviously very fake, but he starts getting the drill. It's not even funny. It was really gross, and he puts the drill bit inside on top of her head and drills a hole in her head, and then he puts a straw in the hole and he's sucking out like you hear it slurping noise. He's supposed to be sucking out the juice out of her head, like the brains. And I got to that point, and I ran out of the room, and I couldn't run fast enough. I ran into the bathroom, in my bathroom down in our downstairs. It's a bi-level. And I was dry heaving, like I felt so sick from watching this. But that was just like a very weird experience. But it's funny though. It's like that's like been a big thing, I think, in America. Like for some reason, maybe that's like in our DNA. Like people love to see horror movies, like they're drawn to them, and sex films. Like porn. It's like porn and horror seems to go hand in hand, or they're the two top grossing things that draw people to a movie theater. And it's kind of funny, real quick, because I actually went over an hour now, and it's going to be way over an hour when I put the credits in. But I'll make this the last thing, I promise, because again, it's over 1 hour. Right now you're going to say, well, the biggest thing right now is not really horror. It's like these comic book movies and science fiction movies. Well, you know what? The next quote unquote comic book movie, which is an X-Men movie, I think it's called The New Mutants. It is classified as quote unquote a horror movie. It is literally considered, it's being placed as a horror film. It is, because I've seen the trailer for it too. I think again it's called The New Mutants. That's an X-Men thing. And yeah, it is definitely a horror film. So there you go. What did I say? Sex and violence. That's the thing that sells tickets. It always has and always will be. I guess. It seems like that at least. Anyway, I'm just going to babble on, so I apologize. Everyone, I hope this works out well for me and for you. I hope you enjoy what I talk about. And I'll just continue on, or maybe talk about something different when I come back. I'll find out tomorrow, because it will depend on what the outcome of my job is too. So thanks again if you listen to me, and try to get other people to listen in too. This is Walter from iWalter, and yes, I'm going to sign off for now. Have a good one, everyone.